Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Mystics at the Grocery Store. This is episode 9. I find that very exciting. That feels like a big
Mystical.
number. I know 10 will be a big number, but 9 also feels like a big number. I am joined, as always, with my lovely co hosts, Miss Melinda and Miss Adrienne. And I will jump to them here in a second for a check in. But to introduce the topic and get you excited, well, you'll see from the title, so really, what am I talking about? But today, we're going to talk about meditation, our own personal journeys with meditation, how we were introduced to it, and possibly even just some tools and tips that we found helpful for us to stay committed to the practice. So, ladies, tell me, how are we? Melinda, how are you? How's it going?
I am surging with energy.
Searching.
I am surging.
I'm like, do you need a surge protector or are you
I
good with
might,
the
no,
surge?
I'm good with the surge because it is grounded into my being, into my body. It's surging, it's grounded. It's
So you've
surging and
created your own
grounded.
surge protector. Got it.
Yes, I am my own surge protector. And, just had a wonderful event last night where I led my students through Wisdom of the Elements workshop, and there was a
Yay.
lot of meditation and breath work and consideration of who we are and just loving exchange and amazing things. So I know it was wonderful just because of how my body feels today. I feel energized and I'm so grateful. So
That's
that's how I
amazing.
am. Yeah,
I love
so
that. I
happy.
can't wait to hear about that offline.
Hmm.
Adrienne, how you doing over there?
Well, I have been just fabulous. Nothing as exciting as Melinda, but that's okay because I am one of those people that if nothing is going on, I can be chill. Um, and just really, I'm kind of in a hiatus from study. So it's been really great. I'm really getting myself organized and ready for the next layer of study. Um, and just really staying and embodying what it is that I want of my life. Um, One of my mantras first thing in the morning is how will I live today? And it's been very empowering. It's been very freeing. Your choice. It's absolutely your choice how you want to live today. So that I've been playing with and just playing with being in body and joy, putting those together.
Yes, I
Beautiful.
love that.
Rosalyn, how you been, girl?
Thanks. I am good. I have been very busy. And I'm trying to keep the balance, right? And so every day, especially after our 5-day intensive class that we did recently, I am just reminding myself how to breathe into me and breathe into the hara, breathe into the higher mind, and just like take any opportunity to remind myself to do that. But I think too, because of what came through for me, like in a physical sensation of being in that higher state in our class, I now know like what to aim for of like, okay, I need to breathe into this space and I'll know that I'm really getting there when I kind of feel this sensation in a way. And that has been really helpful when I'm like at the office, kind of like trying to stay balanced. And I have like 2 minutes to sit there and think, okay, how can I get myself right? So I've loved that. And I am very grateful for that because it's been crazy, y'all. But yes. Okay. We're going to jump right in. We don't want this episode to go on and on and on, even though we are fully capable of talking for hours. And maybe people would listen, who knows? But meditation,
Mm.
yes, so much so a part of all of our daily practice. So we wanted to jump in because we want this to be, um, I guess, relatable, but not intimidating. Like if someone's never done meditation before, we definitely don't want to present it in a way that's like unattainable or something that's not what could truly be like a very simple practice because it is. So, ladies, either one of you, I don't know who wants to start, but how did meditation first come into your life? What did it look like for you in the beginning? How did you find it?
Okay, so yeah, for me, meditation, it was something I knew that I was looking for. Um, I knew I was looking for peace. I would see people that were in their peace, that were in their joy, they were in love in their lives, and it was something that I wanted. And I had gone through a bout of depression, and my therapist had recommended, um, along with journaling, she recommended to do some meditations. So, like meditations, like I've got to be quiet for so long, that misbelief of how long you have to sit there in order for it to be beneficial kind of just set in. So here I go, trek into the library, and I'm going to get all these books on meditation and figure out how to do it. And then I even got some audio tapes so that I could listen to the meditations and just kind of be in a space of the meditative whatever. And I can remember it very well. I was laying on the floor on the carpet. We had floor to ceiling windows. The Empire was just so wonderful, and I have so much gratitude for being in the presence of the Empire and all that it did for me. So thank you, Empire. Um, but the floor to ceiling windows, the sun was just coming in, and half my body was in the sun, and half my body was not in the sun. And I plug in this recording, and it was a tape. I plugged it in and put in my ears, and I said, okay. And I don't remember if there was music or if it was just words. I don't remember how I was prompted to try to relax. I don't even remember if I was prompted. All I do know is that I'm thinking I'm in there and I'm sitting there for 30 minutes. I did recognize the discomfort in my body, but I thought I was there for like 30 minutes or so. And when I looked in at the recording, I was only in for like 30 seconds, and I just couldn't keep still. I just couldn't. My brain couldn't relax. My monkey mind just kept saying, you can't, this is not going to work. That's how my initial introduction to meditation occurred. And it has progressed since then, obviously, because what's important for me to say out loud is that um, it's really a process of coming within and just quieting the mind, um, and it's the monkey mind, like all the things. Oh, we got this. Ooh, that's shiny. This. So it can just be that simple, and just taking that breath in and just coming within yourself and just taking a moment to be in gratitude. Be in gratitude for what that breath I just took. You don't have to start huge, and then there's really no right or wrong. But my meditations have gravitated towards walking meditations and journaling because I just couldn't sit. I needed to be I needed to have some type of activity. So I got my meditation, my peace at that point in time through quiet reflection and meditation and journaling. So that's how mine started.
Oh my goodness, that's a beautiful story. I just picture you in the shaft of light, half illuminating you. Um, and just even the fact that you can go back to that moment feels like meditative to me and just so sweet. Like you just were.
That was like the start of her like coming online. Like you can see the beginnings.
Yeah.
She's coming. She's coming. She's making it. She's going to get there. She's going to be super
She's.
spiritual. And
Wait, for a second there, I thought you were going to say, and then I realized I was there for 30 minutes. And I was like, what a prodigy. But yeah, 30 seconds. Listen, 30 seconds is a long time, you know?
Mhm.
Sometimes it's just the the one breath that's you're doing mindfully that we say to start with. One inhale, one exhale. In my case, Okay, you all know I am a child of hippies in the 1960s, Berkeley, California. There was a lot of stuff going on, spiritual around me, in addition to plant medicine. And I guess, but I don't qualify that as meditating. I, at one point, lived in a commune with my dad and a bunch of other kind of interesting people and like journalists and artists and musicians, and there was a qigong master.
Ooh.
Yeah, I got to see. Witnessed people doing standing meditation in different postures as a very young child. You know, this is toddler years, and just so it was like normal to see it. I didn't have I nobody was making me do it or like having it happen. You know, it's just as part of the atmosphere, you know. And then I also got to see a lot of artists, like actors and people who would just kind of center themselves before they went to do something. So it was, in the sense, kind of part of the air that I breathed in that way. Um, so yeah, and then of course my dad also did Tai Chi, and he did his standing meditations every morning for a while. So it was part of that, and I just appreciate that even from a young age, like just being around that stillness and that ability to just be in the peace of that. So, but I'll circle back to me later for more, but that was my first exposure. How about
That
you,
you
Rosalind?
say the Qigong master as like imagining you like as a toddler seeing that and knowing how much it's a part of like your practice now is just really sweet. That's so cute. Um, yes, for me, my introduction to meditation. So in elementary school, I must have been, I mean, this must have been like first, second grade, third grade. I mean, it went through all of elementary school. I had a counselor who I absolutely, her name was Mrs. Cleveland. Love you, Mrs. Cleveland. Um, Honestly, though, I mean, she changed my life. And she would bring each class of kids, so each teacher's class, into her office. And she would say, okay, we're going to do this really fun exercise where you're going to listen to me tell a story and we're going to have the lights off
Oh
and
my
you're going to
God, I'm
be
getting
laying
chills.
down.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. She was
I
like, we're going to
love
have the
that.
lights off. You're going to be laying on a pillow. Everybody gets a blanket and you're going to just listen to me tell this story. And it was like, and I think sometimes she might have had music on too. I don't remember that like as vividly. And so it was like, I looked forward to this. And it wasn't all the time. I think it was probably maybe like once or twice a week, but probably once a week. But it's just so ingrained in my memory that I'm like, it must have been every day. I loved it. But yeah, so we would all be laying there, you know, little first graders, second graders, in the dark, listening to her story. But what she was doing was telling us, you know, okay, take some deep breaths. And then you're going to see yourself, you know, you're walking by a stream and you see trees. And what do the trees look like? And like look around. And it was like this full guided meditation. And I remember, like, as an adult, the first time I was really thinking back about that, I was like, wow, like she was doing something that no one was doing for kids. And I was like, that is just huge. Like, I'm so grateful that I was introduced to that because after that, so I spent my elementary years being able to experience that. And I was hooked, right? So I was an introverted, quiet kid. So, like, my imagination was like my happy place because I could just go off and think, like, I want to go on an adventure like she told me I could. So I would lay in my room and I remember too, I would go to like Barnes and Nobles or where they had the big CD section. And I would go in there and I would look for like, without realizing I was looking for like meditation music, but I loved like indigenous music. So like Native American drum and like,
Mm.
so I would buy those CDs and then I would go home and I would play them and I would lay in the dark and I would go on like my own little adventure. And like, I didn't even know that I was doing this thing called like meditating. But yeah, so that's how I was introduced. And I'm always so, so grateful for that experience because if I had not been introduced to that then, I don't know when I would have. I don't know what it would have looked like and if it would have been as freeing and positive and simple though. Like it was a simple thing to just sit there and listen to a story. But it really did spark my interest for like the rest of my life because I wanted to, like you were saying, Adrienne, like I'm searching for that feeling of peace. And somehow, as an elementary school kid, I had gotten a glimpse of that. And
Hmm.
so through the rest of my, you know, younger years and even now, I mean, I was like, okay, how do I get back to that feeling? How do I find that? So yeah, I'm always just like floored by how incredible it was that I had that experience as a kid because I know she was blazing a trail that
Hmm.
nobody else was doing. So, before I get emotional,
Thank you, Miss
I'm just so
Cleveland.
grateful. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was amazing.
I love that for you. That's just I love that. I absolutely love that. Love it.
Yeah, it was so
And
incredible.
the fact that you were with the whole
Hmm.
class stands
Right?
out to me
And
too
like that
because
all these
it's yeah.
kids, even the troublemakers, could like go into a room and be quiet and lay down and everyone could be
Yeah.
cooperative. Like, whoa, it's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. But it like highlights also the importance of potentially community
Hmm.
to meditate together and to sort of set this resonance. And then when you go off alone, you have some kind of the texture of that community with you,
Yeah.
and you aren't alone, doing it in a sense,
Yeah.
but you understand that it's part of a greater practice of humanity in a
Hmm.
way. Yeah.
Yeah. I could go, I don't, okay, I'm going to say something there, but well, because I'm like, I know we want to kind of stay on topic, but at the same time, I just got this vision of like early humans around a campfire coming together to share story or song, or it's like, but it's so important to have that community in energy practice. And I just think of like all of our experiences that we've had together where the frequency really is different when you're meditating or you're going on guided journeys as a group with like a teacher or a leader or someone that you know, are willing to sit and be guided by. It's really powerful. But then again, I don't want people to think like, oh, I don't have an outlet of that right now. And I still want it to be special. Like, yes, your individual experience is still incredible. And there are so many ways. There's apps, I'm sure, YouTube videos and things where you could find guided meditations like that. And who knows, maybe you'll stumble across groups in your community that get together and do these sorts of things. But yeah, huge community, huge.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess um, we can kind of move on to our more personal journeys with meditation. So, after being introduced to it all, how did you find it kind of impacting your spiritual journey, your practices? Were there any moments where meditation, and I guess we can kind of give examples of what it looks like for us, just to give context to people of what our own practices look like. But yeah, Melinda, how does, I don't know, wherever you want to go with the conversation.
No, that's perfect. I love that. I mean, a lot comes through with that because the way it used to look is not the way it looks now, and it's an evolution. I think I like Adrienne mentioned, journaling, and I used to journal, like I have boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of journals from back, when I was a teenager, before teenager. And though I wasn't doing a formal meditation, I feel like that was a technology of self connection for me that it's it it really helped me. And I think it's not meditation, but it's what I think meditation points to in a lot of ways, which is self connection, self understanding, self soothing, even potentially. It's a lot of things, sitting with yourself, expressing, I was expressing out through the hand, through a pen to a page, but it was like, I loved that. I loved that. I loved to be surprised by what came out of the pen. It was like channeling a little bit, like, what? Wow. Look at, I am always been a book reader and a delighter in words and wordplay and things like that. But anyway, that's not our topic. Our topic is meditation.
Look at us trying so hard.
I know, to stay on point.
But listen,
Melinda, when you
out,
said that, it was like hand,
out.
pen to page. I was like, that sounds like a poem.
Oh, yeah. There you go. And when I was in college, my dad came to visit, and he wanted to go to a Quaker meeting. And he's, we're just very open to all forms of spirituality, and usually not the like most necessarily like organized ones where there's like protocols of all kinds of protocols. But this, a Quaker meeting it's a beautiful experience. And I went with him, and there was this like beautiful meeting hall and like this fireplace and the crackling, of the flame, and just like the experience of peace there, sitting with people. And then, what you, in the Quaker meeting, what happens is you sit in the peace and you're meditating. And then if you are moved to speak, you speak. And it's a high vibration sharing. It's like a loving sharing, gratitude expression. And it's open for everyone to do, and then you go back into quiet. I mean, it made my heart sing. And it was very powerful, and yet I did not continue to go when my dad left. I was busy with my life and my boyfriend and all of my blah, 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 whatever, my college stuff. And yet I knew that was out there, and I knew that if I wanted, I could go do that. But it didn't really, at that point, it wasn't part of my life to like keep going. So that was just something. I wasn't like formally sitting, for a long time, until I was like, oh, at one point I was like, I'm going to do a formal meditation practice, sit my butt down, light a candle, and just show up for myself. That came later, when I just kind of had that insight that's where the energy was taking me. So I always trust the energy that's guiding me. And that's what, so that's for the next installment of my story. On to you, Adrienne.
What was the question again? What does it look like now? What did it look like in the beginning?
Well, yeah, and like how did it impact your journey or your practices, or really whatever.
Really whatever. So this just brings back a story of I would be listening to Yolanda's podcast, and she would say, if you're driving, don't close your eyes, for meditation. I was like, what? Like, what? So for me, it was more of a, am I going to get the same thing out of this guided meditation if my eyes are open? And the answer is absolutely yes. So for me, that 30-second meditation that was in the very beginning, it went into the journaling. And I too have lots and lots of journals everywhere. But it was an outlet for me to pour things onto paper, to just come into connection with myself. I felt it important to write things down. I felt it important to just express through the paper. And as I went on to continue on my journey in my practice, it developed into more of a walking meditation at that point in time, where I'm so big on doing this, and it's the way I do things. I consider it a balance, a multitask. So I got to get some activity in. You know what? I'm going to go for a walk. I got to get a meditation in. I'm going to go for a walking meditation. And I was surprised at how easy it was to be in a meditative state while walking. And it was a gradual thing, and it was when I realized that this was a meditation, was I would go for a walk when I was, and then after the walk, it's like, all right, that whatever that was that got me all was nothing. And this is the way it's going to be seen. And this is the way I see it. And I realized the importance of why that actually came to be, whatever it was that got me in that riled up state. So the walking meditation really is just one of the many ways that I've gravitated towards. And also when I do Reiki on animals, it's a meditation. We go into a meditative state. Not necessarily always touching, but just a meditative state. So it's gone that way for me as well. But the journaling afterwards is just, I feel like it's like the icing on the cake. It's like the final piece of it. Sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes my meditation writings come out like is it Yoda? Like he says things backwards, and I'm like, what? I just write down. So that's what it's come through for me. And for me, the benefit of it, first, it takes me out of that frazzled state. Mm-hmm. And it brings me back into I try not to use like woo-woo words, but I feel myself coming back into body, centered, focused. Okay, ready to take on whatever challenge it is that was put before me, or whatever challenges are coming up, and to see the gratitude in those challenges. So that's how I use meditation. And I drop in really quick. So for me, if I'm in a 30-minute meditation, there's lots of stuff where my hands will just start writing, and it will just keep going on and on and on. So like I drop in really quick. And sometimes 5 minutes is all I need. Sometimes before I go to work, I'll sit in my car. I've got 10 minutes before I have to clock in. And that deep breath, here we go on breath again. But that deep breath is part of my meditation as well.
No,
I love your car.
Yeah, the car meditation. I love. Yeah, it really is, though. I like that you say, like, it doesn't have to be a formal sit on a pillow on the floor for 30 minutes. Like, it can just be a few minutes of breath. For me, I was trying to kind of think of, like, where did meditation keep popping up? And I guess as I was moving through like my teenage years into like young adult, I would take like yoga classes here and there, and they always remind you of breath. And then, at the end, Shavasana, you're laying there, in breath and meditation in a way. So there were all these little touch points that kind of just kept reminding me that this was a thing. And I think I knew, based on my childhood experience, if I ever felt too out of sorts, I could return to that, of the breath, of taking a moment of, centering, like you said, like just trying to be in body and trying to center into me and out. And not ignore, but kind of like set the boundary of what's external versus what I can control in terms of how I feel. Um, I'm remembering too, like as a teenager at the house that I lived, there was like a creek behind in between like our set of houses and the street over. And I would take my dog and we would go just walk the creek.
Mm.
And I think that was kind of like a meditation of sorts for me. It was a way to like get away, go be in nature, explore. And it was just like, yeah, it was a way to kind of center. But I think as I got older, it definitely evolved. Like Melinda mentioned, like it's a very evolving sort of practice. It's never going to be the same throughout your entire life. And I don't want people to think like, if I'm going to be a serious meditator, it's going to look like this and I have to
Mm.
do it this way. Like, no,
Mm.
you don't have to. Do it whatever way you want, whatever feels good that day. Um, so yeah, as an adult, I think it just turned into, I guess, a moment of self-care in a way. It was like a
Mm-hmm.
dedicated morning moment. I'm going to go into this other room where I've kind of cultivated this space of this is where I go to be peaceful. And I'm going to sit and I'm either going to, I'm trying, like when I'm, the time of life that I'm thinking of, I had learned chanting the Reiki symbols with mala beads. So I did that for a while. That would be my morning meditation. But then it did turn into like more of what you were saying, Adrienne, like I'm going to sit, I'm going to breathe, and then I'm going to journal because I think for me, I was searching for a feeling of being in that deep state of meditation, kind of like what you're saying, Adrienne, of like I sink in fast. I didn't always sink in fast. And I still don't, but I was searching for the experiences where I felt the body really get to that state of like total relaxation and surrender. And then that's what I was aiming for, no matter how it looked, whether I had music on or I didn't, or I had lit my incense or I hadn't, or I was sitting with a crystal or I wasn't. Like it was just this time to set for myself where I gave myself the chance to relax and breathe into the body and just surrender to the moment, whatever it needed to be. And then I could open my mind to the acknowledgments of like, oh, look at that thought coming in. What is that trying to tell me? Okay, well,
Mm-hmm.
don't get too attached to it. Okay. And then what's that thought coming in? What is that trying to tell me? And then, I mean, everything like jumped up a level when I started doing Alchemy Circle with Yolanda. Of course, things just like went through the roof in terms of like variety and what was coming through and just learning so many different types of ways to meditate. And then, I mean, we all know, shout out to our lovely teacher, Yolanda. Her guided journeys are just incredible and deep. And like we were saying, like when you come together with a group, the frequency of a meditation is just so much different. Like it's just vibrating at a rate that's like this incredible experience. So coming together with everyone and being guided by her just opened up so many insights into what my, I guess, higher mind, my soul's journey was trying to tell me at the time. And so, yes, I also have my collection of journals, especially from that point on, because it was like, whoa, there's just so much that I feel like I want to remember
Mm-hmm.
that is important to me in this moment. This is hitting me in a way that feels transformational, and I want to make sure that I remember it. But yeah, I guess to touch on, and I guess Melinda, you can say what you do too, but now my meditations look very different than what they did at the beginning. And I think in ways it's similar because it's usually I set aside time in the morning and I come into my Reiki room that I'm in right now. And I sit and I just kind of see like what feels good. So some mornings I might really deeply try to connect to Mother Earth energy to be grounded and kind of see what she has for me that day. Some mornings it might be going through the Reiki Gokai or just simply using Reiki for my own self practice and letting energy move. But it's always about visualizing energy moving. I think that's what my meditations very much are now, is moving energy. Um, and right now, too, always kind of finishing up with some oracle card readings. So that's what my meditation practice comes in as. And I think it's cool, too, because the cards, right, like all these different tools we have, the cards kind of give validation to what comes up in the meditative part of when you're sitting. It kind of clarifies for you where your focus should be or what's trying to be communicated. Um, but that was very long-winded, but that's what mine looks like now. Melinda, what does your practice look like?
Woo!
That was very beautiful. You know, as you talked, I was like, what, what a beautiful image. A woman, a person of any gender sitting with themselves, allowing themselves the time and the space to connect with themselves and consider how they're feeling, to let breath come deeply into their bodies, and then to like to acknowledge what is in their field. What are they sitting with through journaling? Like, I just want to cry when I just, it's so beautiful to think about all of us sitting and with our journals, and just, it's a radical act of self-care
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
self-acknowledgement and self-validation. Ultimately, it is helping you to understand yourself better, to honor your energy, to honor your time. A lot of times I know it's tricky for people to find time to meditate, but the truth is that's no problem for them to find time to watch Netflix. It's no problem to take a shower. It's no problem to go to the bathroom. There's a lot of things, and it does not need to be some complicated ritual. I do think it's important at some point, once you get kind of the bug of it all and understand that it's guiding you toward greater and greater harmony in your life, even though initially it feels maybe like crap, because a lot of times you sit and thoughts come in that are just like, oh, it's the crap of your life, like surfaces first sometimes, and and the practice is sitting with that and like breathing and allowing it to be what it is and not respond and react. And then shifts happen, where that kind of, you can let that go. You can let that shit go, watch it float away. When I first started, I was realizing with a dedicated practice daily, I realized that was at a time of big transition for me. I had separated from my ex, and I had taken the step to validate myself and my feelings and what I wanted. And so it was, in a way, it was an extension of that. And it was a place to be with myself and start to hear the voices within me, and to really just like do the inner child healing kind of work. It didn't always feel great. I felt like, I was like, I'm going to do this. I was very determined to be, and disciplined in my practice. And that has a texture of like, it was not always juicy and loving in the beginning. I remember feeling like, I'm going to sit on this pillow no matter, like, I'm going to do it, and just like, because, but something in me was saying, yes, you must do this. This is going to be very important for your life. And this is very important, to do. And everybody's different and has to, listen to their inner guidance. But your inner guidance, you open a channel to it by doing this kind of sitting. And, at this point in my practice, it's like a beautiful self-nurturing, the frequency of the sit is not something I have to do. It's something I'm like, oh my God, I get to go sit with myself. And, and I have all these tools of, either guiding myself in a journey internally. I have shamanic meditation practices where I use drumming. I do breath work and then sit in meditation after, and it just like, it's incredible. I'll do, I've done Qigong type of meditation from my teacher, Robert Peng, which is interesting. You mentioned earlier, Adrienne, about open eyes. Like there is some really cool practices where you don't, you have some part where you close your eyes and you feel what's inside your body, you notice. And then you have your eyes closed and you notice what's outside your body. And then you open your eyes and you feel what's inside your body. And you have your eyes open, you feel what's outside your body. And it's fascinating because a lot of times the eyes really pull us out of ourselves. And with open eye meditation, it like helps you stay breathing into yourself even as you are looking out. And that is important because I think it helps you deal with your life off of the cushion when you're out in the world. We're looking at people, and out of our eyes and out of their eyes, there's such a strong current that we lose ourselves sometimes. And so the practice of doing an open-eyed meditation sometimes, and I don't mean like prop your eyes open with a stick. I just be like a soft gaze and a soft gaze. But then, I mean, it's just, that's where it's so brilliant a technology, because you come to know yourself and your breath so well. So you get so intimate with yourself in that sense. I heard somebody say the phrase, "into me I see," for intimacy, which I love that even when you're out with other people who have maybe had the ability before, or you've allowed them to knock you off of your square, as Yolanda used to say for a while. That was one of her main phrases. You can stay in your authority, and authority. And after this, I'll stop speaking. Authority comes from the Greek word aftos, like ton aftosu, yourself. You are your own source of, you're in your authority. You get to say, you get to dictate your life. Like when you guys were talking about your meditation practices, I'm like, look at us, badasses, taking time, saying, listen, society, you can do all your effed up crap out there, but I'm going to do this for me. And then I'm going to go out there with a wiser, more stable presence and deal with all of the stuff that's always going to be there.
Yeah.
It's not worse now than it used to be in other historical times. We just know about it more because there's a barrage of information. And we have to balance out that barrage with our own coming into our own authority, setting boundaries so that we can claim our space and know ourselves. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm just in a vibe with this whole conversation. It's just so wonderful. I just, yeah, I think it's so important.
She's like, where am I going? What am I
Well,
doing?
no, because Melinda was saying
You've
things.
caught my Pisces.
My mind was going ping, 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 ping. So I was trying to like narrow down which thought I was gonna go with. But I see people listening to this, and I feel like I think we all probably experience too. If there is a curiosity towards what meditation is, just try it. Go for it. Just do it. Like, find something. Do a guided online video. If you have any tug in your brain or in your heart that's like, what is this thing? Because like you were saying, Melinda, the world is nuts. It's nuts out there. And I think a lot of people right now, like, in the spiritual woo-woo kind of industry and corner of the internet is saying people are trying to wake up. People are realizing that, like you said, authority, sovereignty, they have a choice to not be inundated with all this information that makes them feel like crap, that makes them feel anxious, that makes them feel like I have no power, I can't change all this shit that's going on out there. And it's like, so what do I do? Where do I go? And it's like people are searching for outlets like meditation, even Reiki, even energy healing, Oracle, whatever, all the tools. But meditation is such an attainable, easy way to start of like, I can take my power into this moment and sit here and dedicate this time to centering myself and getting outside the noise and the stress and the anxiety. And I can give myself a moment to breathe so that I can be a better version of the human that I am in this lifetime at this time in the world. And it makes such a huge difference when you go out and you express from that place. And then, I mean, I think we're always so inspired by other people. And without even realizing it, you come across someone in like a coffee shop that just has this energy that's like so calm and peaceful and happy. And you're like, how do I do that? How do I get to that point where I can just be at peace and in a state of they look like they know who they are. I want that. So, yeah, I could go on and on. It's so powerful.
Yes.
Ugh.
Yes.
Any last notes before we jump into the weather?
I think we better go to the weather because my last thoughts are going to last an hour and a half. So
Oh
we'll just
boy.
need to do another episode.
Okay.
I'd love to hear the weather.
Let's get to that weather
well,
because I think we are at like probably 45, 50 minutes already.
mhm. um, I just wanted to mention, like when you were talking about breath work, and I remember my first child. Um, she was like, "Okay, you're this is going to be painful. You have to push through the pain." And I immediately wanted to go in, close my eyes, take breaths, and push through the pain. And she was like, "No, keep your eyes open. If you close your eyes, you're going to feel the pain more." And I was like, "Ooh," so like me and anyway, I learned through my other children that no, you bring yourself in and you strengthen yourself from inside so that you can project it outwards. But I love that you said radical act of self-care. That's going to be huge. That plays a part with the weather. Um, and then what was coming to me was, is it an outlet or is it an inlet? And oh, like just playing with those two words, right? Like, okay, here we go. So, you know, we're looking at and I am a firm believer that the universe is going to place what you need in front of you. It's going to present it to you. It's up to you whether or not you take it or not, whether or not you absorb it, whether or not you feel it. um, and November we were pruning and coming into our empowerment, and we're going to continue to do that, and December is going to ask us to integrate and actually recalibrate some of those things that we've now pruned and powered away. I'd love to go back a little bit to kind of bring in that those deep conversations that were going on in this November and at the height of this November energy, those deep conversations that were happening. Um, Something's being solidified out of the water, going into the fire, coming out of the fire, going into the water to be solidified. So again, you're coming forward with something much more firmer, much more concrete. Um, so that was coming through for me to just to re-mention that we're being asked to learn lessons a little bit differently. We're being asked to upgrade the way that we're learning our lessons as well, and not to scare or not to frighten, but to challenge with the remembrance that as you take on the challenge, there is a reward afterwards. Okay. So on the 26th, Venus goes into a trine with Jupiter and Saturn, which are tutors. And Venus, love, relationships, values, things of that nature. And those two tutors, Jupiter and Saturn, there's, okay, well, how do we bring that essence of Venus into? How do we allow that essence of Venus to help us to go on this journey, to go on this challenge? And they, hey, grace, love, community, speaking, So when you guys were talking, it was like you keep talking about community. And I was like, this is perfect. This is all what it's about. And on the 28th, it's the 28th, 29th. It really depends on where you are. But the words that are being said on the 28th and 29th, Mercury's going direct in Scorpio. Like she's back in Scorpio, just kind of like listening to everything, feeling it, going, yeah, pruning things. Yeah, we don't want that. We don't want this. And now Mercury's going direct. This is how we're going to speak. This is how we're going to present ourselves. This is how we're going to share with other people. But it's deep because you're still in Scorpio. It's deep. Deep conversations, deep considerations, investigative, probing types of things. Things that this is all occurring in the 8th house as well, which is Scorpio related house. So deep, really, really deep. And how can meditation help you with that? When you start to go deep, you start to uncover some things that, that was uncomfortable. But when you have that meditation or that time to yourself where you're just going, and breathing through the discomfort, knowing it's there, breathing through it, seeing it possibly in a different way. Okay. On the 28th, Venus also goes into an opposition with Uranus. Uranus is about radical innovation, with sudden changes. And Venus is like, hey, we got the softness. And, she's flicking back her hair kind of a thing, like, and she's not afraid to go deep. Venus is not afraid of anything. I'm sorry. Goddess Venus, not afraid of anything. She just came out of the dark, or she's still in the darkness with Scorpio at this point in time. She's getting ready to come out and go into Sagittarius. But she's like, yeah, I know you said it's going to be a sudden change. I'm still going to take it with grace. I'm still going to take it with ease. I'm still going to be thinking about the passions that I have for my values, the things that I love, the things that bring me joy, and I'm going to present them. And Uranus is like, you are beautiful. I hear what you're saying. Can we switch it up just a little bit? What if you add a little bit of this to it? And how about we start now? And Venus is like, okay. Like she's already going in a direction, but she's like, okay, we'll do it this way and we'll go faster. Or we'll take into account these things, these relationships, these deep conversations that I've had while I was at the party with Mercury and Scorpio and bring them to light now. Yeah, okay, we could do that. We can do that. And I love that it's about passion. I love that it's about relationship. And when Uranus is in Taurus, because when you're in opposition, you got Venus over here in Scorpio, the opposite end, whatever is over there, is in Taurus. So Uranus is in Taurus, it's sudden change. And Taurus is like, hold on a minute. Like, we've got to be stable. We've got to be secure with this sudden change. So those thought patterns are actually, they're like crisscrossing, Venus and Taurus, they love each other. Their best values, security. So you've got both of them in those different pillars, those different avenues, and there's a crisscross. Okay. And Uranus is going sudden change, and Scorpio's like, yeah, okay, it could be a sudden change. It's still going to be deep. And again, you've got that crisscross. So I love the conversation that they're having at this party, at this dinner party. Love to know what they have on for the food. But, and then when you've got those tutors of Saturn, and Saturn's like, okay, Saturn's no BS. Jupiter's a little bit softer of a tutor. Like, yeah, this is the way that you do it. And here's the information and let's expand it. And Saturn's like, you know what's on the syllabus. You know what you signed up for. What are you waiting for? And do it. a little bit stronger, sterner of a tutor, but still it's, we've all had those PAs that are like, I know you didn't have a chance to do your homework this time, but if you can hand it in next time, you'll be good. And Saturn's like, why? You knew, you signed up. What? Do. Okay. So that's all on the 28th, 29th. And then on the 1st, no, I don't want to skip the 30th, because then the 30th, Venus goes into Sagittarius and everything becomes lighter. Like she's like, all right, Uranus and I have had a discussion and we're going to do it his way a little bit, but we're going to be lighter about it. We're going to have lots of conversations with friends and community, and we're going to talk about things that we love and those things were difficult that we got through. But oh my gosh, can we have gratitude for those too? Because here we are. And we're going in at a more lighter kind of, it's about exploration. It's about travel. Maybe not physical travel. I'm not getting I'm getting more of a physical, spiritual travel, kind of like you're moving this way. And Venus is like, yeah, we could do it. And again, she's flicking the hair back. She's doing her thing or whatever she's doing. But it's lighter. She wants to desire. She wants to feel these experiences and explore more. Lighter. And really go after them. But feel them where, yes, we're just coming out of the depths of everything. But how does it make us feel? So again, Melinda, you had said something in one of our text messages back and forth about how you're feeling higher, but yet grounded. It's that Venus energy. She's like, bring it up, girl. And all of a sudden she's stretching into it, So, and then we've got the full moon coming in, and the full moon is going to be in Gemini. Now, there's a lot of conversation going on there, but I think the main key thing is when we have a full moon in Gemini, it really is talking about those things that you're shedding, those things that you're releasing. Can be an old way that you had conversations about yourself. It can be, and I say yourself because it comes into a full moon in the first house, which is I, me, self, me, So it's a perfect time to release fears of being labeled a specific way, fears of being heard in your uniqueness, voicing your truth. And I love that it's in Gemini because I get this vision of I'm going to speak this way. And if you don't accept the way I'm speaking, that's your choice. But my head's going to go in the other direction, and maybe I'm going to speak to somebody else. So here you've got the two heads facing in different directions. But I love that this, I'm trying not to talk about the winter solstice, but I love that it's all preparing us. I love the way the earth is just saying, it's preparing us for this next cycle. And I was telling you guys off screen, I really, next year, I feel like there's a lot of alignment that's coming up. It's the number 1 year. The cosmos are going to be pushing us into that alignment. Strap in, buckle up. Perfect time to start a meditative practice. We talked about the strap across the waist, and you're strapping yourself into, like, I don't know, one of those when you go to the amusement park and they've got to strap you in this way and across, and you're holding on to. I don't do those types of rides. But I feel like that's what's coming next year. And again, not to scare anybody, but just how about you start a practice that's going to help you feel a little bit more in control, more that it's your choice to do, to be, enjoy, empowered, embody, okay? And I'm sure there's some kind of Latin thing about I-E-M and I-N and E-N and all that stuff, but we'll let Melinda talk about that. But it's like preparing you for additional conversations that are going to start to come up, and they're going to be louder next year. I really feel like they're going to be louder. And all these energies above us, they're just like helping us like sink into everything and starting a practice of whether it's a meditative walk, whether you've got 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whether it's sitting in getting someplace early so that you can just take a moment and just be by yourself. A bubble bath. A bubble bath. Um, I've one of my doctor friends this time of year, she goes into a state of watching Christmas movies. And I said, she goes, I can't meditate. I said, that is your type of meditation. You are surrounding yourself with this energy. And some of those Christmas movies are a little like, that's corny. That's really corny. But you know what I'm saying? You've got that love energy and all possibilities and miracles all around you. That's a type of meditation as well. And I've never seen it that way. So I challenge you, and I challenge you to write it down in the show notes. Like, what types of things bring you centered, bring you back, give you joy? They don't have to be long. Again, Melinda was saying, they don't have to be long. It doesn't have to be ritualized. Could it be? Absolutely. It could be whatever you want it to be. Just do it, because I really feel like we're going to need it next year. And, I'm not one to say any sign is in a bad anything, but I just feel like the professor planets, they're all in retrograde right now, and they're redoing their syllabus, and they're saying, those humans think that they've got it down there. Let's throw it on this. Or maybe they're saying, you know what? I feel like Neptune is like, we're the softer of the planets. So be a little bit kinder when they're giving us our stuff. But Uranus and Pluto out of bounds, transformation out of bounds. It goes in and out, but mostly it's going to be out of bounds. And let's transform. And they're all coming in together. And Neptune's like, well, can we use some of the stuff that we've been dreaming up in the background to transform into? And Pluto's like, sure. And Uranus is like, okay, here we go. So I just feel like next year let's go. And the nodes, we're going to talk about the next time, because the nodes, when they go direct, they're actually pulling you in the direction that you're meant to go. So I know that was a lot, and I was like, bleh, but that's what I'm getting out of all of this.
No, I think it was all so applicable to what we were also already talking about too, and where my mind was going, especially around, like, I think you said the 26th and then the 28th and 29th. It's the holidays, everyone. Thanksgiving is around the corner. What better time to start using your breath to bring you in than when you're around
Family.
People that might push your buttons. That's where my brain went. But then you were also talking about how deep the conversations can be, and how this sense of community, of coming together and really being open to the depth and breadth of what can be brought up, I think is also really special at this time of year, when we do have the opportunities to be around people that we're not always around, and looking at it as an opportunity of like, hey, like, let me see what can come up in this experience. But yeah, breath. If ever there is a time to start playing with meditation, it is now. And like you said, get to the function a few minutes early, sit in your car, take a few breaths, and just see how that kind of sets you up for success to kind of go into what you're experiencing. But again, and also I just love how much Venus is still coming into play. I feel like it's just beautiful how she influences our lives. Melinda, did anything specific come up for you with all of that juicy goodness?
Yes, it was. I mean, first, just seeing Adrienne dance and the dinner party with all the planets, and just imagining. I mean, I admit, my scenario also went to like some kind of group sex situation with all the planets and how they would be. I'm sorry. I'm just being honest. Like, that would be so funny. Just the way, but you started it, Adrienne, because you're so expressive. And I was like, that would, because then Venus, she's just like, and the way
she's got it. Venus is like, I've got it.
And then it came to mind, like, what a big, beautiful planet she is, and how she turns the other direction than the other planets. And she is not afraid to go her own way. And so she can deal with Uranus, whatever, because she knows she's the shit, you know? So like bring it on, you know, bring it on. You could everybody can say what they want, but she is going to do her deep self-love practices because she's a beautiful big planet slowly moving in her own direction. And that is what motors the universe. We need that. So there's something about that. And then the other thing that came up, you know, you said something about choice. And it's always about choice. And it's always the lesson of like in every aspect of your life and everything you're doing, to ask yourself, you know, or to state, I chose this, I am choosing this.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you feel that you are not choosing it or you haven't chose it, there's an opportunity for potential shift, growth, and meditation helps you sit and ponder these things. And speaking of, I'm just going to bring up the etymology of the word meditation.
Mm-hmm. Love
Yay.
that. I love that.
So around, well, of course, it's from the Latin, and it's from the root word med. Well, it's a possibly Indo-European root, but med, take appropriate measures. It's about choice and it's about alchemy, measures like med, and think about medicine. You know, it's meditation is a form of medicine and they have the same root word. But it also came into, you know, through the old French, contemplation, devout, preoccupation, private devotions, prayer, thought, reflection, study, a thinking over, meditation, you know, and so it's just interesting to think about, to meditate on. It's just, it can be a Latin verb, you know, that has this other sense of plan, devise, practice, rehearse, study in a way where we are sorting through energies within us and we are considering, you know, getting into, you know, right, get on top of the Venus planet for a minute, feel that beautiful, like, okay, she's going her own way, let's go inward and consider where it is you feel you really are actively choosing the things in your life that you can participate in with your whole loving heart versus the things that you are feeling you're not choosing that feel like a drag. You can these things can change. They can be shifted, even if it's just your own perspective that shifts them. And meditation practice can help you both like discover those things within. It's not all, you know, life is, they say life is suffering. Okay. What are we going to do about it?
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be a walk in the park all the time. You know, we're going to have resistances within. We're going to have challenges. Challenge is how we grow. The strong wind helps the tree root down further. That's what came up for me. So, yes.
So
What about you, Rosalyn?
wonderful. I am just having a moment of appreciation for you because I'm also getting a vision of the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding and how the dad always is like, it comes from the Greek. And he like goes through the, you're our own little version of that. And I love it.
Get the
I mean,
Windex.
he's not wrong.
Get the
He's not wrong.
Windex.
He's right.
That's how we should cleanse our chakras, just Windex our whole body.
You're a vegetarian, but this is lamb. That's no problem. It's a vegetable.
I love that movie. But yes, no, I love thinking of meditation as alchemy because it really is. It's
Absolutely.
this choice to change it and play and shift and use your tools and rebalance and all the things. I think it's so, so beautiful. Yeah, I could go on and on, but I will leave it at that. Adrienne, any last little bits of
Um,
mind pinging?
what was coming through for me really loudly is like limiting self beliefs. Like, if it's, first of all, part of your simple journaling can just be, what are my limiting self beliefs? Like, I know when I first started I had to, well, okay, I want joy. I had to define what joy meant for me. And luckily, I knew, okay, go within to find out what joy means for you. And that was through meditation that I learned, go within to find the answers. The thing that I really want to bring up is that, um, I know we talk about Uranus and Saturn, those tough, tough planets, but they challenge you to do the work. And then they remind you, once you do the work, there are rewards. And the work for you can be different than the work for somebody else. Take the moment to just really go deep and ask yourself those questions, those tough questions. If you're not happy, why aren't I happy? If you want to bring something else in, well, how can I bring it in? And why do I want to bring it in? And go back to just simple. I wanted joy. I had to define what joy was because, well, joy, I'm happy. What's happy? Like you can really go, what is happy? What's people smiling? Well, what's a smile? Like really, really go deep. And when I say deep, I don't mean necessarily stripping away things that were so painful for you. But when I say deep, start defining the words for yourself, not based on, I don't know, does anybody use dictionaries anymore? Do they just go to the Google or the Surrey? Hey, Surrey, what's happening? Shh, I don't want her to talk right now. But, define it for yourself. And that you can get through meditations. Mm-hmm. And I also want to preface, when I say that something is coming into retrograde or something is coming into at a specific house, that's generally where it's coming into. If you want to know where it's being affected or how your personal planet is being affected by it, or you personally, you'd have to pull out your own birth chart and get that. And I could definitely help you go through that with you so that you can see how these planet progressions, how these planet conversations, how these dinner parties are affecting your personal chart. So I just wanted to say that because I didn't want people thinking, well, she said it was in the first house, but I don't see it in my first house. So there's a whole nother so many beautiful layers when you start talking about astrology. So I wanted to put that out there. And then Melinda, when you said the strong wind makes the trees roots go stronger, those stronger roots also allow it to handle that strong wind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Love it. Yeah. I had a feeling this was going to be one of my favorite episodes, and I think it is. If I just pat ourselves on the back real quick.
I love it.
No, I love this topic, and I'm sure we will come back to this in a different flavor, in a different way at a later date. But yes, I challenge everyone, and not even challenge, I invite.
Yes.
I open an opportunity to you, listener, explore meditation. If you've done it before, did you like it? If it's not, if you did it and you're like, oh, I don't think this is for me, but you haven't tried different outlets or different ways to do it, explore, try different things. Like Adrienne said, walking meditations, whether that's just breathing as you walk to process kind of what you're feeling. I know I very much love a good walking meditation, and I usually go to my favorite trail, and either I go into it with a mantra that I know I want to kind of just repeat in my head, or one comes to me when I get out there. And just allowing the analytical mind to be preoccupied with the motion of walking, and then letting your higher mind sink into the mantra. Love that. Highly recommend trying that. Music at certain frequencies. There's all those. I use an app called Insight Timer, and they have a lot of tracks that are at certain frequencies for different goals of healing. Those are really incredible to sit with. So yeah, just look outside the box if you've tried it before. And if you never have, I think we've given a lot of neat ways to dip your toe into meditation. And really, it comes back to the breath. So, where are there opportunities for you to take a moment of stillness and breathe into the goal of whatever emotion you're trying to achieve, whether that's joy or peace or energy or before bed, it can be anything. And I think the planets are giving us lots of encouragement to look within. Venus is showing us how to go our own way and be in our loving, compassionate sense of self while we're being challenged by new ways of doing things and new perspectives. So that is a wrap for us today. I hope everyone, if you enjoy a good Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving for anybody in the US that's listening.
Will this
And
drop
yeah,
before Thanksgiving or
it
after?
will.
Oh,
It'll be the Tuesday before.
so can I just put a plug in?
Plug it, girl.
While we humans love to get together with our family members, and even though we know that some family members trigger our touch points, pets aren't always the same. So if your pet does not get along with another pet that you're going to visit, don't make them. Um, Little
Beautiful.
Fluffy might not like Beauregard and will scratch Beauregard. Don't expect them to be able to deal with these types of things. Because, first of all, Fluffy doesn't want Beauregard there. Why are you in my house? And you're big and you're goofy, or you're just big and you're slobbery. And there's a scratch on the eyeball, and here you are at the emergency clinic. Or you've got the little dog that
Protect
you're
your
going to visit.
pets.
Yes, protect your pets. The little dog it's his home, and the big dog's coming in, and fights happen. So just be aware of these types of things. They don't necessarily have
Tools.
the tools to realize that, this is my space and you're stepping into my space, and fights can happen. So just,
Yes.
that's number one. And number two, no corn cobs for dogs, please. They do not go through.
Good to know.
They
Helpful
don't go through.
tips.
It's just the things that go through my head. But
Yes.
anyway, so those are
Think
just
of
two
your sweet little
tidbits.
animal,
Yeah,
little
think of them.
friends around the holidays as well, for sure. Melinda, any last thoughts before we go?
I just learned so much just now. And I'm just on that train, right? On the doggy train. And as you were speaking of Beauregard and the slobbing, and I was like, wouldn't it be nice if we just saw our relatives in pet form and just just visualize them as sweet little pets and just be loving anyway, because I think part of what happens at family gatherings, and this is for another episode, but
Mm-hmm.
everybody is stuck back in old patterns, old ways of seeing each other. There's no room for growth, It's
I
supposed
love
to be a source
that.
of comfort,
Yeah.
but everybody's like, but you were, you used to be that way, and I know you, and I, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, that doesn't allow for freedom of evolution within and the family. So it's just like, it's just something to think about, but we have to have grace with each other for sure, but we also have to just allow each other to shift and change and grow and be curious about each other's lives.
Yeah.
And then go in the bathroom and take a nice deep breath and then let it out.
You've been in the bathroom a lot. Are you okay?
Yeah, sure. I got a lot to breathe through,
Take
people.
walks. And, there's also good stuff going on. So enjoy the food.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us again for another episode, and we will speak to you very soon.
Bye.
Bye.